Josh here, and this is my review of Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. And I realize I'm quite late to the mark on this review. Frankly, most of my reviews for books or comics seem to be quite off the mark of release, but whatever. I'm doing it anyway. Feel free to not watch if you don't want to. And this is the sequel to the film version of Freddy vs. Jason. If you don't know, this was actually originally intended to be a movie, but because the script never ended up getting made, it was actually turned into this comic book, what I'm holding in my hands right now as I say this. And it's not terribly long, it's about 6 issues long, and it's not terribly deep, as would be expected of the material, but I think it does a good job of maintaining all 3 mythologies and not disrespecting any of them. I won't even bother trying to summarize a story in this because, frankly, it's insane. I mean, the work that had to go into trying to mesh Freddy's dream world powers, Jason's invulnerability and whole mother complex thing, as well as Ash's quest for the Necronomicon, is just really ridiculous. But honestly, it's kind of cool. I really love how they treated the source material with a lot of respect, even when some of the things aren't really worthy of respect. You know, I mean, the cheap-ass sequels for Freddy and Jason. Not saying anything against Evil Dead, fucking awesome, all 3, but like I said, I really enjoyed that, and there's not a whole lot of story outside of this setup, because frankly, this setup takes the majority of the issues to actually establish, because due to its complexity, like I said, but it works really nicely, and it does give each character their moments to shine. Jason's half, he's in it quite a bit. He has some really great kill shots. The art is a little digitized by some of them, so it doesn't make them quite as graphic or enjoyable, I think. That sounds kind of sick to say, but I imagine fans of any of these will know what I mean. And Ash is in it a lot. He's kind of weird looking compared to all the other characters, I think, but it didn't bother me as much. The art itself is not terrible, but hit or miss, I think. Hit or miss. The actual 3 characters, they got Freddy's appearance right down. Jason, of course, got it right down. And, like I said, Bruce Campbell, little weirdly portrayed. I think they're taking it more from the Army of Darkness comics rather than the Bruce Campbell character. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm kind of drifting off track here. Getting back to the story, like I said, I did enjoy it. It is pretty short, kind of inconsequential, as most of the movies are for any of these franchises, but I really did enjoy it. If you're a fan of any of the 3 franchises, I urge you to pick it up, because while it's completely stupid and ridiculous, it is also a lot of fun. There is a lot of great Jason moments, tons of hilarious one-liners by Ash, and a lot of good Freddy action. One thing I actually do want to point out, though, is that these is kind of using the modern mythology of each character, if you know what I mean. Whereas in Jason is not actually kind of the deranged hillbilly out in the woods. He is kind of that supernatural being that was portrayed in Freddy vs. Jason, and particularly Freddy is more on the comedic side, as he was in Freddy vs. Jason, than he is in the original couple movies, at least. So go in expecting that. Otherwise, I really didn't see too much of a problem. The one thing they did have a big problem with in the story was Freddy seemed to... It made him too magical near the end, for lack of a better word. It kind of brought him out of his dream world mythology and trying to bring him into more of the Necronomicon style, and it just didn't work, I don't think. Not to the extent that I had to put it down or I was groaning or anything, but it just didn't seem like Freddy. Otherwise, the only other complaint I do have is that I think a lot of Freddy's dream sequences riffed off of the Evil Dead series too much. There was a cute couple homages, don't get me wrong. I mean, when, if anyone remembers Army of Darkness, if you're watching this you probably do, when Ash is attacked by all those little mini Ashes, like Gulliver's Travels, it has the same thing but with little Freddys, which is kind of funny at first, but then it keeps doing that kind of thing and repeating that, and you're like, okay, I've seen this, it's cute, but get on with something new. That's the only thing I can really accuse this comic of. It really isn't anything new, despite the title and the epic, legendary matchup that this should be. It just didn't blow me away. It was okay, not amazing, but if you're fans of the franchise, you definitely need to pick this up. At least need to read it, because it is a quick read if you don't feel like owning it. Because it is a lot of fun. And I mean, there particularly is a sequel to this, too, that the story sounds even stupider. I'm not even sure I'm going to bother with that one, but it's an interesting matchup and something you definitely need to see. I'm a big fan of versus versus things. because even though you all know, like, no one can really technically win because the only reason you got to this versus movie is because either franchise is too popular, rather, like Alien versus Predator. Aliens or Predators can't technically lose because people who love aliens don't want the aliens to die, and people who love Predators don't want the Predators to die. And the same thing goes with this. Ash is definitely more of a clear-cut hero than previous Evil Dead movies, I think, but I think that works, especially since this does take place after Army of Darkness. Anyway, overall, I can't say too much bad about this, other than that it was just slightly underwhelming. Outside of the one-liners, the dialogue is really groan-inducing sometimes, but you know what? That's kind of in staying true with some of these franchises. If you can take that and do not take any of these franchises really seriously, this is just a lot of fun. It's a light read, but I think it's certainly worth checking out, if nothing else. The pacing certainly doesn't suffer from any of these three characters. Check it out.